Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. Today we are going to discuss about the question of that whether an IAS officer who has submitted his or her resignation can again join back the services or not. Obviously this we are discussing in the context of recent Shah Faisal case. So we are going to discuss the whole nitty-gritty of this particular case, and also we are going to discuss about the rules and regulations that the government of India has framed in this particular regard. So first of all, let us try to understand the background of this issue. So recently, Indian Administrative Services Officer Shah Faisal, who came to fame after qualifying the CAC examination with rank 1 in year 2009, he resigned from the services in protest against the unabated killings in the Kashmir in the year 2019. However, yesterday the government has announced that he has been reinstated in the services. The return to services had been indicated back earlier in August 2020 itself, when he stepped down as the president of Jammu and Kashmir People's Movement JKPM, the political party which he founded and the party that he had founded after leaving the Indian Administrative Services. However, in August he announced that he is not only disbanding the party, leaving the party, but at the same time he is quitting politics altogether. Once he has decided that and announced this, the government was already indicating him to indicating that government can reinstate him back into the services. The Faisal's resignation came in the month of January 2019. However, still it has not been accepted by the government and pending the investigation of certain matters that he has posted on his social media account. Apart from that, few months back, he was also barred from travelling to Istanbul when he was arrested and put into detention under section 107 of the Criminal Procedure Code. Now, let us try to look into the rules of resignation which the government of India has made. So, first of all, the rules has been made by the Department of Personnel, and it has said that the grounds on which the resignation is to be accepted or resignation is to be submitted should be clear and unconditional. Apart from that, there is two other important rules, Rules 5 Clause 1 and Rules 5 Clause 1 Sub Clause A, that is mentioned in the All India Services Death Cum Retirement Benefit Rules that was framed in year 1958. It is this rule that governs the resignation, you can say retirement, voluntary retirement, as well as the removal of the All India Services member. Now, All India Services belongs or refers to three classes of services, that is IAS, Indian Administrative Services, then we have IPS, that is Indian Police Service, and then we have IFS, that is Indian Forest Service. Apart from this, other central services are also governed by the separate central services rules. Now, the most important point which we have to understand is that the resignation is very different from the VRS. VRS refers to Voluntary Retirement Scheme. In voluntary retirement scheme, it is the government that wants the civil servant to retire. And how it is different from VRS? Because if some civil servant or any of the civil servant is resigning from the services, he or she is not entitled for any kind of pension. However, if he or she is taking VRS, in that case, pension is he or she is eligible for the pension from the central government. Apart from here, one other rule that is called as Rule 5 of DCRB, that is Death Cum Retirement Benefits 1958. It says that no retirement benefits may be granted to a person who has been dismissed or removed from the services or who has resigned from the services. So, apart from resignation, the dismissal and removal of individual from the service also renders him ineligible for getting any kind of retirement benefit, including the pension. Now, the question comes that if any civil servant wants to resign, to whom he has to submit the resignation. So, here the rule says that if any civil servant or IAS officer or IPS officer is adapted in a state, in that case he or she has to submit the resignation to the Chief Secretary of the state. In case if there is a central deputation, in that case the officer have to submit the resignation letter to the Secretary of the concerned ministry or department of which under which he is working. And after this, the resignation, after the receipt of resignation, it is further forwarded to the concerned state cadre along with the comment or recommendation of the particular ministry or department. Then question comes that once the resignation has been submitted, what is the procedure that is to be followed? So first of all, once the resignation is submitted, the provision is that the department has to inquire into that whether if there is any outstanding dues that is pending against the officer. The second point of investigation is that what is the vigilance status of the officer, and the third point is that whether any cases of corruption or etc. similar to that are pending against him or her or not. So these are three major points that is determined by the concerned authority, concerned state department or central department. In case if any of these three are true, that means if there is any outstanding dues against the officer, or the vigilance status of officer is not clear, or he or she has been implicated and the case is pending against for investigation into corruption cases, in all of these three cases the resignation is normally rejected. However, if all of these three positions or status of the officer is clear, in that case the resignation is further forwarded to the central government, where the competent authority, that is generally the Minister of Department of Personnel and Training, he is the competent authority who takes decision regarding the acceptance of resignation or not. If you look at the current scenario, as the Prime Minister himself holds the portfolio of Department of Personnel and Training, he is the one who will take final decision regarding the we can say rejection or acceptance of the resignation letter of the IPS, or resignation status of the IAS officer. In case resignation is from the IPS, then the competent authority is Minister of Home Affairs, and if resignation is from the Indian Forest Service, in that case the competent authority is the Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So three different ministers look into or investigate into the matters regarding related to the resignation of three different All India services. Now, what is the ground under which the government can accept or reject the application for resignation? So there is a rule that is mentioned as per the circular of Department of Personnel and Training in 1998. It says that it is not in the interest of government to retain an officer who is unwilling to serve, and that is why the circular has clearly stated that if any IAS officer or any officer of the central government do not want to serve anymore, then generally the resignation has to be accepted. However, there are certain exceptions. In case if officer is already suspended and during the term of suspension he want to resign from the services, in that case the provision is that the competent authority should examine that whether it would be in the public interest or not to accept the resignation. It is on the basis of recommendation of competent authority the further decision will be made. Also, if any disciplinary cases are pending against the concerned officer, in that case there is a concurrence of Central Vigilance Commission is also required before the decision on the resignation letter is to be taken. Apart from that, government also have to make sure that or to investigate that whether the concerned officer has signed any bond for giving certain period of services to the government or not. Generally, the bonds are signed if any officer has been granted leave to further do the further studies, higher studies, or do certain courses. In that case, on the government money, in that case they have to furnish a certain period of bond. So that is also have to be clarified. Then one more exception is there, that if the official is engaged in a work of very importance, and government believes, the competent authority believes that it would take time to find a replacement for the state officer or to make any alternative arrangement for the given post. In that case, the DOPT clearly says that acceptance of resignation should not be immediate. It should only be done once the arrangement for filling the post vacated by the officer is alternative arrangement to fill the post vacated by IAS officer or any other officer has been made. So, general norm is that resignation is to be accepted. However, in these exceptional cases, acceptance of resignation either can be delayed or it can be altogether rejected. Now, the question obviously comes that what is the procedure or what are the rules that governs the withdrawal of resignation. So, again it is mentioned in Rule 5(1)(a) clause 1 of DCRB rules, and it clearly says that if government feels that in the public interest it is better to allow the withdrawal of resignation, then they can do so. Apart from that, the Rule 5(a)(1) of the amended DCRB rule that was amended in year 2011 also states that there is a 90-day window. That means it is not like that IAS officer can resign and any time after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years they can join back again. This is not the case. There is a 90 days window. That means since the day resignation has been accepted or resignation came into effect, After that, there is a 90 days window within which IAS officer can withdraw the resignation. If 90 days windows has passed, then his resignation is deemed to be impermanent in nature. Apart from that, also there is a exception clause. That means if any officer, central government officer, is leaving or resigning from a post mainly with the intention to join any political parties or organization, or to lend help and support, or even become part of any political movement or political activities, or if you want to use his power to influence the elections in any legislature or local authority, in these cases he will not be allowed, he or she will not be allowed to withdraw the resignation. Now, what are the circumstances of withdrawal? So, here again DOPT clearly says that if an officer who has submitted his or her resignation sends an intimation in writing withdrawing it before its acceptance, that is the most important clause. That means withdrawal has to be before the acceptance by the competent authority. The resignation will be deemed to have been automatically withdrawn. Now, what is the Shah Faisal case? So, Shah Faisal case clearly is very different because his resignation was not at all accepted since last 2 years. So, since his resignation was not processed since 2019, 90 days window that we discussed before does not apply in his case. And if you look at the civil list of IAS officer that is available on DOPT website, there is still, since his resignation is not accepted, he is listed as a serving officer. However, his place and designation of posting has been kept vacant as not applicable. And that is why it is on these grounds that his request for the withdrawal of resignation has been accepted by the government, and he can join the government services once again as an IAS officer. So, I hope you understood about all the details of this particular issue. That is all for today. Thank you very much.